Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to preview the Cheltenham Gold Cup, which takes place in about 40 days now. We're getting closer and closer all the time, and I think all of the horses that will turn up in the race have had the last run now, so I think we can get a good gauge on the field. And I'm going to start off talking about the Irish Gold Cup, which happened just the other day on Saturday, where we saw Conflated win at 20-1. That was a big shock, and I think blew the door wide open for this race in general, because Conflated won. He was rated 157, hadn't shown a lot. He could be good on his day, but he is inconsistent, and he showed up in spectacular fashion, won by 6 lengths in the end. That was some performance and ride from Davy Russell, but you just get the feeling that this horse isn't up to winning a Cheltenham Gold Cup. I think it's a completely different ball game, as you've seen with Kenboy, who has won and run very big in the Irish Gold Cup previously, and then when it comes to Cheltenham, it's a completely different ball game over a bit further as well. So I think you can kind of take this race with a pinch of salt, but we did learn a lot about some of the main contenders. Manila Indo was much better in this, beaten only 6 lengths in the end after being pulled up in the King George. That was definitely a step back in the right direction for Robbie Power and Henry de Bromhead, whose yard aren't in the best of form still, but as you saw with Honeysuckle, she bounced back to form, and Manila Indo definitely did take a step back in the right direction after winning the Cheltenham Gold Cup last year. But I think you can take that performance with a pinch of salt, because if you look at the third, Janadil, that's never going to be winning a Gold Cup, and got within a neck of beating the Manila Indo. So this race is probably an absolute minefield and very difficult to work your way through for sure. And as for Fordon, it's now 2 back-to-back poor performances that this horse has put in. You can maybe attribute that to the Paul Nicholls yard form, but Fordon never really always looked like Fordon was in top gear, whereas some of the others in behind were just doing it easily enough, and he faded quite badly in the end to finish 7th, a well-beaten 7th as well. So that race might not have been as informative as we once thought it would be, when we had some of the main market leaders like Manila Indo who ran okay in it. And as for some of the other horses that were short in the betting, Astalion Forlonge did underperform, and Kenboy also, both Willie Mullins trained horses, did underperform in that race. And Janadel actually ran best, which I don't think Willie Mullins would be expecting, but I don't think any of them Willie Mullins horses will be running in the Gold Cup itself, and if they do, I don't think they'll be running that well. But there might just be another Willie Mullins trained horse that might be up to winning the Cheltenham Gold Cup. We'll get onto that in a minute, but we'll move over to the market for the Cheltenham Gold Cup, and we've got Aplutard 7-2 favourite, having finished 2nd in it last year. And the breaking news is that Aplutard probably will be ridden by Rachel Blackmore after Robbie Power rode Manila Indo on Saturday. I think that's a very positive booking. Rachel Blackmore retaining the faith in this horse, who she rode last year into 2nd. That was a mighty run from Aplutard, and this season has probably been another step forward, winning at Haydock in very impressive fashion by 20 odd lengths in the end, and Royal Pagaille, who finished a long way behind us, put in a very good performance when winning since, and also 2nd, just nosed out by Galvin, who's 2nd favourite for this race. That was a decent enough performance, maybe just hit the front too soon, and Galvin, you've got to hold your hands up, was given a perfect ride to be delivered right on the line, just mugging Aplutard in the finish. And about Galvin, I think he's a very progressive horse, winning at Cheltenham last year, but you just get the feeling that Cheltenham Gold Cup might be a step too far. Maybe that's me underestimating the horse a little bit, because he is very progressive, but in my mind I really can't see Galvin winning this race. Or he might win it, but in my mind I just would let him win at 9-2, because I just don't think that he can win a race like this. On to Manila Indo, who's 3rd favourite in the betting, and I'm quite shocked that Manila Indo's as short as 5-1 in places. This horse won it last year, granted, won it quite nicely in the end for Jack Kennedy, but I just don't think that Manila Indo is up to winning it this year. I think it's a stronger renewal this year slightly, and I think some of the horses that I beat that day did slightly underperform, where Manila Indo was on his A game, and I think this time things might just be a little bit different. And Jack Kennedy probably won't be riding. It'll be Manella, it'll be Robbie Power, which may be a step down. I'm a massive fan of Jack Kennedy. I think he's a great jockey, and I think losing the surfaces of him might just be a problem for the horse. Moving on to some each way prices now, and the horse that I fancy for the Gold Cup. I've backed it the last twice it's won this race, and it's Album Photo at 10-1 in the betting, which I still think is big enough. I advised people to back him at 21 before he ran on Chamor at New Year's Day. That was it was an okay performance. It's hard to make out how well he ran in that race, because the other three were trained by Willie Mullins, and they crawled on for 2 miles, and then he was a couple of furlong sprint. Well, he did actually quicken up quite nicely to win in the end, but a few in behind might have just been non-tries, so you never know. But this horse has won it twice at 12-1 in the betting and outsider a couple of years ago. Then just 2 years ago it won at favourite. It was sent off favourite again last year, and it finished third when it didn't jump too well and got hampered coming into the home straight. Paul Townend was in a pocket, couldn't get out. He was only beaten 5 lengths in the end as well, which I think a lot of people have been underestimating this horse, maybe because of its age. It is getting a little bit older, but I don't think that'll be affecting him a lot. He's just had the one start this season, and Willie Mullins did say he wanted to campaign him differently. That looks unlikely at this point. He did have some hurdle engagements over the Dublin Racing Festival, but Connections decided not to take that up. He'll be going to Cheltenham fresh as a daisy for sure, and I think Willie Mullins will do a little bit more work in the build up to this, because he wasn't 100% on his game last year, and if he can turn up at 100%, I think he'll take all the beating at 10-1 in the betting. I'm just going to talk through some outsiders which might or might not have an each way chance, and one with an each way chance for sure, I think, if turning up, is a Hoy Senor. Now this will be a novice running in the Gold Cup, which would be a big task, but he was very good at Wetherby, bouncing back from being poor against Man's Game. He's won a grade 2 at Haydock and then another grade 2 at Wetherby. He's definitely on the jump. He's jumping better, especially at Wetherby compared to Kempton, and I think this horse, if he does keep on improving, I think Connections might maybe just lob him in there at a big price. He definitely has the scope for this trip, and I think he's a star of the future. I'm a really big fan of this horse, and with no runner money back, he could just be worth putting £1 or 2 on, but you never know. One outsider which I think we can completely rule out is Chantry House. Now this horse has been a very lucky Grade 1 winner. If you think back to last year at Cheltenham when Envoy Allen fell, he won at Aintree when another horse fell at the second last. This horse has been very lucky to win graded races. He was terrible in the King George, and he just scraped home against Santini last time. There's been a few people backing him, which, to be honest, I can't really understand that much. At the prices, I'd much rather put my money on a horse like Album Photo or even a Hoy Senor. I really don't think this horse will be winning the Gold Cup, but Nicky Henderson trains him, and he does always seem to have a bigger reputation than he has shown on the racetrack. So if he can turn up and run to how Connections expect him to, he might just surprise a few people, but I'd be happily surprised and let him win at 16-1, because I don't really think he'll complete this Gold Cup trip, never mind be running near the places or even winning it. So that rounds up the video of the Cheltenham Gold Cup. We're just getting ever closer. It's a race that I'm very looking forward to, and for me, Album Photo at 10-1 is a horse that I'd be happily having a bet on, and an outsider with a chance, as I mentioned earlier, is a Hoy Senor if turning up for the race. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.